Yo, what's up, all you Burnerstones and potheads? This is Weedman420 with the Weedman420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm fantastic.
I love it. Hell, you vipers out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. But before we do, this week's episode, Mrs. Weedman and I are going to be just giving it to you our all with cannabis, research, science, and health, some political news, international news, and then we're going to end it with some cannabis culture given to you by Mrs. Weedman. Now, Mrs. Weedman, let's get normal with some Peach Destiny grown by Nomad Farms right here in the state of Illinois and given it to us over by the team over at Stash Dispensaries. Peach Destiny is grown in living soil, everybody. Nomad's Peach Destiny flower delivers a premium experience that cannabis consumers crave. The exceptional flower showcases vibrant, hand-trimmed buds bursting with sweet peach and fruity aromas that immediately captivate the senses. Each dense nug reveals a complex terpene profile that translates into smooth, flavorful sessions, whether you're rolling, packing, or vaping. Peach Destiny offers a well-balanced experience that cannabis enthusiasts appreciate for daytime or evening enjoyment. Nomad's commitment to cultivation excellence shines through in every aspect of this strain, from its aromatic bouquet to its satisfying effects, perfect for warm, relaxed, and calming body ease. We would like to thank Dan and Dan at the Stash Dispensaries for giving us this to enjoy in this week's show. And you could check out all the Stash Dispensaries, Orland Hills, Richton Park, and Peru, Illinois, if you want to grab some of this Nomad, because they're the only dispensary in town that's carrying it. So I'd like to thank Dan and Dan again, and the Stash Dispensaries do a phenomenal job. If you've never been, or if you have been to one of their awesome events, you need to check out Stash at Orland Hills. They do a phenomenal job with their events. And then also, Mrs. Weedman and I have been smoking this all week long. This Peach Destiny.
Very nice.
I will have to say, we've smoked a lot of Illinois cultivators here in this state, and I will tell you this weed here is phenomenal. It is grown in living soil. It's organic, beneficial insects, natural fermentation, and I grow in living soil. I know a lot of homies, a lot of traditional market growers, a lot of underground growers, and a lot of home growers love their living soil. So
this looks like a craft home grow. It's good. It's sticky. If you have not tried this, go to one of the Stash Dispensaries right now, because I know they're the only ones that have it. Very small batch grower here in Illinois. Like I said, really taken care of. It's very good. And I'd like to thank the Stash Dispensaries for throwing to the cause, because when you throw to the cause, we get to smoke good weed. So thanks. And while I'm smoking this doink that Mrs. Weedman rolled, she's going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com. Yeah, head on over to 8decades.com. That's EIGHT, decades.com. And you're going to find our brand. 8 decades, because we just don't want to see a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition. So we created products that can start the conversation, products that you can have out on your coffee table or wherever you consume your weed. Just nice looking rolling trays, ashtrays, storage containers, all sorts of great stuff. We also have hemp clothing, and you'll find links to the podcast and swag for the show.
Yeah.
So head on over to 8decades.com and be sure to sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get free shipping on your first order. And Mr. Weedman always says,
if you support 8 decades, we get to pay our producer Shoddy.
Yay. So stop on by.
Check it out, 8decades.com, everybody. Ms. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
Today's a sad day.
Yeah, I know.
We've watched, listened, movies, music, interviews, boyhood crushes.
Legend.
Dolly Parton passed away today at 80 years old. Yeah, a goat of all times. She's greatest of all time. A female artist, whether it's just music in general, not just country music. She had a talent. What was your dad's favorite song? Jolene, Jolene, Jolene.
I like 9 to 5.
Oh, that was a great
personally.
movie too. Working 9 to 5, what way to make a living. People nowadays are saying, fuck no,
Fuck
I don't
that
work 9 to
shit.
5 anymore. Tremendous artist, phenomenal music. The song she did with Kenny Rogers. Oh, God,
Oh
the
my
love
gosh.
song. Oh, my God, so good. I have a quote. She's had many a quotes in her time of being a musician, public figure, movie. And here's the one I took. Okay? This is when she was being interviewed by Oprah. I ain't never gonna be old because I ain't got time to be old. I can't stop long enough to grow old. I'm just going to be the best I can and be whatever age I am.
Oh.
And I'm probably everyone listening to that's probably hearing Dolly Parton's voice.
Her little sweet
Yes.
Southern
Yes.
voice.
And every boyhood's dream had a poster of her. Country boy had a poster of her on the wall because she had
their big old boobies.
Thank you. Yes. You know, she was very short.
She's just tiny.
Yeah.
Well, she had ribs removed too.
Did
Didn't
she?
to make her waistline tiny?
I have
I mean,
no
her waist is like
yeah, but she was
that big.
short though. I think she
Mhm.
was like shorter than you.
Tiny.
Yes. All except in one area. Yeah.
She had a booty too, or
I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I guess they never showed
it was
the
just
booty.
because her waist was so little.
I guess they never showed the booty.
No.
But
wow.
Dolly Parton, rest in peace, rest in power, rest in love, rest in everything. You were great. We're going to miss you, and we're going to miss your music. I mean, any new music you were about to put out. But you know what? There's plenty of movies we can watch her on and plenty of old probably videos we could see her on with her music. So rest in peace, Dolly Parton. You're in heaven now making great music. All right. The robots are taking over, Mrs. Weedman. The robots are now officially taking over. Houston, we may have a problem. We've spent years worrying about robots doing what? Taking our jobs. They got our jobs. Cooking our food, which they're doing now. There's some videos of them messing up and cooking our food. And maybe becoming smarter than you and I. Maybe, especially me. But apparently, these robots ain't stopping there right now. They did, over in Beijing, they did the World Humanoid Robot Games. Just wrapped up. And these walking, talking, looking machines showed up ready to fucking roll. They were ready to compete. Guess how many robots showed up for this event?
I don't know.
2,000 robots from 16 countries took part in 51 events, including running, jumping, soccer, boxing, and even practical tasks. But this is the big headline. You ready?
Yep.
The 100-meter sprint.
Ah.
I watched these robots run. These fuckers, man, were seemed like they were being chased by cops. That's how fast they were running. Like they had a bag of weed on them and they were getting chased by cops. One robot, okay, there was a couple, but there's one Chinese humanoid robot called Tiangong Ultra, ran the distance, the 100-meter, in 9.39 seconds.
4 legs or 2?
2.
Ooh.
For comparison,
Wow.
Usain Bolt's legendary human record is 9.58 seconds, set back in 2009.
Jeez.
So technically, the robot just took at one of the fastest humans who ever lived and said, "Hold my battery, bitch. I got you.
Here.
Catch my smoke." And get this, the robot averaged nearly 24 miles per hour during that sprint.
Holy shit.
He was fucking, this robot was booking.
But then there's there's no brain or heart or lungs, so it could just keep going at that same pace.
But here's the thing. If you watch the video, they can't stop. They had to put like a wall, a padded wall, because they were running so fast.
Yeah.
They couldn't make the turns. They would wipe out. Or if they hit the backstop, the cushion, they'd fall backwards and fall apart.
Oh my gosh.
But these things booked. I mean, fast. So the really interesting part, though, is that these games just aren't about making robots for the cameras. Some events tested practicabilities like warehouse work, packaging, object handling, cable connections, restaurant service, and emergency response tasks. And more than 40% of the competition required the robots to operate autonomously. So we're watching something pretty wild happen in real time. The robots aren't exactly ready to replace humanity tomorrow. They still occasionally fall over, crash, fall apart, lose a leg, lose an arm. A dog might catch them and beat them up, run away with a leg. But they do need help getting back up if they fall. They're not quite there yet, but they're improving ridiculously fast. I mean, from years ago to today. And last year, some of the machines struggled to finish the race. Now they're breaking fucking records. They broke Usain Bolt's record.
That's nuts.
So, and honestly, this raises some questions, though, Mrs. Weedman. When the robots can run faster than us, work faster than us, and eventually maybe grow better weed than us, are we at least keeping the good snacks? Because if the machines take over, I'm putting my order in for a robot that rolls fucking fat joints. Yeah, crazy. Did you see the videos?
Robot that cleans my house.
Yeah, that's all I want a robot
that'd be
for.
Great.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Cook too. Cook and clean the house and weed whack and push the lawnmower around. Yeah. I like the riding lawnmower. I don't need a robot to do that. So, but yeah, to clean the house and do all the work that we don't like to do so we can live some life and have some fucking fun.
Lawnmowers already.
Yeah, I saw those.
They're all over.
Yes, they are. But some of them, like, you have to either use a remote control, or some of them you can
their computer.
Like, you just like set your yard, and they just do the whole yard, right? I've seen some videos of that. We also have a bunch in the neighborhoods around here.
Yeah, like the county has them.
It's crazy.
And they mow the median. They're smart enough to go around things, and then like not fall off onto the street.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
nuts. I just can't. I'm just shocked to watch this thing beat Usain Bolt's record. There was another one too that I don't remember the numbers, but beat the world record for the long jump.
Wow. That's wacky. Up in Madison, when O-Dog was in college, they had robot delivery services. Food delivery.
Was it like a cart, or was it like a robot, like walking robot?
It was like a little box.
I've seen them in downtown Chicago. Yeah. But people are mean. They kick them over. Yeah. Just let them like crawl on the side and stuff. That's kind of mean. Like, let the robot do its job. It's bringing food to somebody.
Leave the robot alone.
Yeah. Don't beat no robot up.
Gosh.
Especially if it's got food in it. Let it get to the food first.
Snag the food.
Or let the food get delivered and then do whatever you want to do. Now, if they're delivering weed, those things are going to get robbed like crazy, unless they have some kind of electrical fucking barrier around it or something like that, which possibly could happen in the future.
They turn into like Transformers, and then they get up on their legs. And then they're like jujitsu.
Or they run 24 miles per hour. You ain't catching Usain
Bolt.
Just book. you ain't catching Usain Robot.
They just take off.
Usain Bot is what that one should be called. All right, it's getting out of hand. You ready to start the show?
Yeah.
Good weed, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about cannabis beverages in the last few months and, lately, and now there's some interesting research adding fuel to that conversation. The article, Cannabis Drinks Help Consume Less Alcohol While Improving Sleep and Mood, this study finds was published by Marijuana Moment, looks at the large real-world survey exploring what happens when people swap some of their booze for THC beverages, and the numbers are pretty damn interesting, Mrs. Weedman. Researchers from the firm More Better looked at 4,516 people, not 1, not 10, 4,516 people who consumed cannabis beverages in completely daily self-reported surveys over a 3-week period. The study involved 36 different cannabis-infused drinks, not like one brand paid for it all, 36 drinks. So it wasn't just somebody asking a friend in the backyard going, "Hey, do you like weed drinks?" The biggest finding, though, 65% of the participants said they drank less alcohol while consuming THC beverages. More than 56% said they would consider cannabis drinks as a regular replacement for alcohol, and 53% reported having less of a craving for alcohol. Nearly half, 47%, actually said they preferred cannabis beverages they tried over the usual alcoholic drink. Now, here's where things get especially interesting for the health side of the conversation. Participants also reported improvements in things like sleep, stress, mood, pain while using the cannabis beverages. In other words, for some people, the beverage wasn't simply replacing the alcohol buzz. It was apparently providing some of the effects that they weren't looking for when they reached for a drink in the first place. And that gets into the idea of harm reduction. We're not talking about saying cannabis is completely harmless or that everybody should trade their beer for a THC seltzer. Cannabis can have its own risk, and THC affects people differently. But if someone is drinking heavily and discovers that cannabis beverages help them cut back on alcohol, researchers are interested in whether that substitution could potentially reduce some alcohol-related harm. And there's actually other research pointing in the same direction. A 2026 study published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs looked specifically at cannabis beverages as a possible substitute for alcohol. Among 438 adults who used cannabis and cannabis beverages users were more likely to report substituting cannabis for alcohol. Those who started using cannabis beverages reported their average weekly alcohol consumption dropped from 7 drinks to roughly 3.4 drinks. It's pretty good. Yeah. They also reported less frequently binge drinking. So we're starting to see a pattern worth paying attention to. But, and this is important, but we have to be careful about what these studies actually prove. The big marijuana moment study relied on self-reported information, and it wasn't randomized clinical trial where researchers assigned one group THC drinks and the other group alcohol or placebo. So we can't say cannabis beverages definitely improve sleep and make people drink less. What we can say is that a large number of people reported those experiences, and that's a pretty important distinction.
Yeah.
There's also a reason we shouldn't automatically assume that cannabis plus alcohol is some kind of magical wellness cocktail. Other 2026 research has found that combining substances can be associated with poorer sleep outcomes, particularly among people using cannabis, alcohol, and tobacco together. So the interesting question isn't necessarily, is cannabis better than alcohol? It's more like, for people who want to drink less, could cannabis beverages become another tool for changing their drinking habits? That's a much more useful question because the beverage market isn't changing fast. People want something social that they can sip on at a barbecue, concert, dinner, or while hanging out with their friends without necessarily getting hammered. And cannabis beverages are stepping into the exact space. You got a THC drink trying to occupy the same refrigerated real estate as beer, seltzers, and cocktails, but with a completely different kind of buzz. The irony isn't lost on us either. For decades, society basically said, have another drink of alcohol, right? Now, we're watching people say, nah, I'll take the weed seltzers or sodas instead. And if the research keeps showing that some people can use these products to reduce alcohol consumption, improve how they feel, and still enjoy the social experiences of having a drink in their hand, that's definitely a trend worth watching. Just remember, less alcohol doesn't automatically mean zero risk, and THC beverages aren't for everybody. But as cannabis continues moving into the beverage aisles, the competition for happy hour real estate is getting downright interesting. Beer might want to start checking its 6-pack insurance policy, Mrs. Weedman. Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. We've been talking about this for a while, though. So the more knowledge, more power, and hit myself in the head. So. Marijuana legalization boosts agricultural jobs in states that enact it. This is a new study.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, we've talked plenty of times on the show about cannabis legalization creating jobs, but a new study is taking a closer look at where those jobs are actually showing up. And the answer might be a little more old school than you'd expect. Agriculture. According to a new economic analysis from researchers at Texas Tech University, states that legalized marijuana saw agricultural employment increase by approximately 9%, compared with what researchers estimate would have happened without legalization. The findings were presented at the 2026 meeting of the Agricultural and Applied Economics Association, and researchers used state-level employment data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics covering the years 1990 through 2024. They used what is called a synthetic difference in difference analysis, basically comparing legal states with carefully constructed estimates of what their employment picture might have looked like if they had never legalized cannabis. Now, that doesn't mean that legalization suddenly created 9% increase in every type of farming job. Cannabis cultivation is itself an agricultural activity. So when states open a legal market, there's suddenly a whole new crop that needs to be grown, harvested, processed, and managed. And here's another interesting part of the study. Agricultural wages did not increase significantly. Neither did overall employment or economy-wide wages. Researchers say that could be explained by what's known as an elastic labor supply. That's when demand for agricultural workers goes up. The industry may be able to bring more people into the workforce rather than having to dramatically increase wages to attract the workers it needs. The study also found that the impact wasn't identical everywhere. Timing and local labor market conditions mattered, which makes sense. A state with an established agricultural workforce and infrastructure may be able to absorb cannabis cultivation very differently than a state without much of an agricultural base. And this is where I think the study gets particularly interesting. We've spent years hearing about cannabis legalization in terms of tax revenue, dispensary sales, and consumer spending. But cultivation can have an economic impact that starts much further upstream. Because before cannabis ever reaches a dispensary counter, somebody has to grow it. As of early 2026, the legal cannabis industry was already supporting approximately 412,500 direct jobs nationwide, according to the U.S. Cannabis Jobs Report from Vangst and Whitney Economics. And we've actually seen other research pointing in a similar direction. So while cannabis legalization certainly isn't a magic wand that transforms every local economy, this latest research gives local legalization supporters another measurable economic argument.
Argument.
Yeah, I mean it's a good debatable topic,
oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We all know the golden rule. Keep your weed somewhere cool, dark, and dry.
Yep.
But apparently science has decided to take that advice a whole lot further. A new study published in Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research is titled Stability of Cannabinoids in Cannabis, Plant Material Extracts, Oil Formulations and Isolates, CBD and Delta-9, THC, under different storage conditions. Researchers from the University of Mississippi looked at what actually happens to THC and CBD when cannabis products spend time at room temperature, in the refrigerator, or in the freezer. And the short version is, temperature matters a lot. The researchers tested cannabis plant material representing high THC, high CBD, and balanced THC-CBD profiles along with extracts, purified THC and CBD, and a CBD oil formulation. They monitored the cannabinoid levels over time using gas chromatography to see how the compounds changed under different storage conditions. Ooh, science, science, science. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When THC-rich cannabis was kept at room temperature, the researchers found that THC degraded more quickly, with some of that THC converting into CBN. Cooler storage slowed the degradation, and freezing at minus 20 degrees Celsius, that's about minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit, provided the greatest stability in the tested conditions. So yes, technically, your THC doesn't sit there forever, waiting patiently for you to finally get around to smoking it. It changes, and temperature can influence how quickly that happens. But there's an important distinction here. The study is about chemical stability, not whether your everyday eighth or flower needs to live next to the frozen pizzas. The researchers were conducting controlled, long-term stability testing designed to understand cannabinoid preservation. That doesn't mean we're telling everybody to throw their stash into the freezer tonight. Don't. We're not telling you that. We're just reading what these scientists are finding. In fact, freezing cannabis flower at home can create another problem when you take it back out. Temperature changes can cause condensation, moisture, and moisture is definitely not something you want hanging around your flower. Nobody wants to open the jar expecting some beautiful buds and discover they accidentally started a shroom farm. Now, here's one of the coolest findings in the study. CBD behaved differently from THC. CBD-only products demonstrated strong stability even when stored at room temperature. Meanwhile, THC-rich products were considerably more susceptible to degradation under ambient conditions. That tells us something important about cannabis storage. There isn't necessarily one universal storage rule for every cannabinoid in every product. The chemistry of that product matters. The researchers also found that THC was especially stable when formulated as an ethanol solution and stored at a minus 20 degrees Celsius. That's minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, that's more relevant pharmaceutically, laboratory, and commercial formulations work than it is average person keeping a jar of flower in the house. And this is where the study becomes particularly important for the cannabis industry. Think about dispensaries, manufacturers, medical cannabis programs, and products that might sit on the shelf for months. If cannabinoid concentrations change significantly during storage, it's not just a consumer issue. It can become a quality control and labeling issue. If a product says it contains a certain amount of THC, manufacturers need to understand how storage conditions could affect the cannabinoid concentration over time. That's especially important as cannabis becomes more standardized and moves further into the pharmaceutical and wellness worlds. And there's another piece here that I think longtime cannabis consumers will appreciate. We've all heard somebody say, this weed is old, but it still gets you high. Well, maybe, but still works and has the exact same chemical profile it had when it was fresh are two very different things. Cannabis is a plant full of compounds that can change over time. THC degrades, other cannabinoids and aromatic compounds can change too. Storage isn't just about keeping your weed from getting dry and crumbly. It can influence the chemistry of what you're actually consuming. The study's conclusion is pretty straightforward. Storage temperature should match the product and the cannabinoid composition. CBD-dominant products showed impressive stability at room temperature, while THC-rich materials benefited substantially from colder storage conditions. So, here's a little bit of a takeaway. Don't panic and start filling your freezer with weed. For everyday flower, the classic advice still makes sense. Protect it from excessive heat, light, air, and moisture, and follow the manufacturer's storage recommendations processed products. But this research is giving us something more valuable, a better understanding of why proper storage matters. Because cannabis might look like it's just sitting there in the jar doing absolutely nothing. But chemically, that little nug is still partying. And apparently temperature decides how long that party will last. And we actually have the best jars in the world to store your cannabis in.
Mm-hmm.
What are they, Mrs. Weedman?
They are our mirror and violet glass jars.
And why are they so great?
This is turning into a little commercial, but they are actually very cool. It's glass that's imported from the Mirror and Violet Glass Company in the Netherlands. And it is just interesting. They add minerals to the glass when they're firing it, and those minerals actually block the harmful UV rays. So you could have your cannabis in these containers. It could be in a very light, direct sunlight space, and it will not degrade your flower or whatever you have. Like, you might store your edibles in there, you might store joints, whatever you've got stored in there is not going to degrade from the sunshine. Now, heat, you still have to protect it from heat, but the light will not damage. And if anything, it actually supposedly ages it in a way, right? And
well, it brings the good light in.
It allows the good UV light.
Yes, it keeps the bud from degrading. Right. Also, the jar lid keeps the oxygen out. Right. Also, so oxygen is the worst thing for your weed. It degrades your weed faster than anything. So it keeps the oxygen out. It also, if you keep it stored in a cool, dark place, like I always keep my weed in our basement, in our closet down there, because it's nice and cool and the humidity is always perfect there. With a Boveda bag, 62% humidity. That weed will last
for a long time.
I've smoked weed 2-3 years old. I'm not saying it was as fresh as it was when I first harvested it, but it still had a smell. It still had a taste, and it still had a good body high. Yeah. And just store your weed right. That's it. And check out 8decades.com to get your
to get some
jars. But everybody who's bought those jars from us
has loved them.
And what are they?
Oftentimes they order more.
More.
Yeah.
And they come in 3 different sizes. So ounce, half ounce, and an eighth. So check out 8decades.com and get yourself some glass. Ms. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
New California study finds evidence cannabis could treat obesity and diabetes.
Yeah. We all know how it goes. You smoke some weed, suddenly you're raiding the refrigerator, and somehow that half-eaten pizza from yesterday becomes the most delicious thing in the world. Well, naturally, you'd think cannabis and weight loss probably don't belong in the same sentence. But researchers at UC Riverside are taking another look at that assumption, and what they're finding is pretty darn interesting. A study involving obese mice found that cannabis compounds actually cause the animals to lose weight. And one particular cannabis preparation produced some pretty significant improvements in their metabolic health. The researchers wanted to investigate something scientists have noticed for years. Studies have repeatedly found that cannabis users on average tend to have lower body weight and a lower risk of diabetes than non-users. That seems strange when you consider one of cannabis's most famous side effects is an increased appetite.
Mhm.
So the research team, led by UC Riverside professor Nicholas DiPatrizio, decided to dig deeper. They gave obese mice 2 different cannabis-based treatments. One group received THC by itself, while another received a concentrated cannabis oil containing a broader range of compounds from the plant. And here's where things get really interesting. Both treatments caused the mice to lose weight, but the metabolic results were very different. The mice receiving pure THC still showed impaired metabolic function that resembled diabetes. The mice receiving the more complex cannabis oil, however, saw their metabolic function return to normal. In other words, it wasn't simply a matter of THC making the animals lighter. The combination of compounds in the cannabis oil appeared to have additional effects on how their bodies processed and regulated metabolism. Researchers believe part of the explanation may involve the endocannabinoid system, which plays an important role in regulating things like appetite, metabolism, and energy balance. The cannabis industry has already been interested in compounds that might influence appetite and metabolism. One example is THCV, tetrahydrocannabidiol. Did I butcher that? Cannabidiol? Yeah, you get it. THCV. A cannabinoid that has been associated with reduced appetite and increased stimulation. Some companies have even marketed THCV products as a kind of diet weed. The researchers are not saying that smoking marijuana will make people lose weight, and they're definitely not saying cannabis can currently be used to treat obesity or diabetes. Animal research has given scientists valuable clues though. Wow.
Yeah.
But the result, were you struggling to read too?
No.
No. But the results don't automatically translate to humans.
But I always struggle when I read.
In fact, DiPatrizio specifically says the goal isn't to tell people to use cannabis to reverse diabetes. His team wants to identify the specific chemical or combination of chemicals responsible for the metabolic effects and potentially develop a medication that could provide those benefits without causing intoxication. And that's probably the most interesting part of this research. Scientists are increasingly looking at the plant as a complicated collection of different compounds that may interact with our bodies in very different ways, making that old assumption that cannabis automatically equals weight gain a lot more complicated. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Political state and business news. The DEA and 7 groups opposing rescheduling have filed final briefs in the federal hearing over moving marijuana from Schedule 1 to 3. The DEA argues cannabis no longer meets the legal requirements for Schedule 1 and points to the HS finding an accepted medical use. Now the administrative law judge has briefs, and the next move is in his recommendations. The paperwork party continues. Connecticut cannabis sales barely moved, but tax collections jumped 67% earlier this year. The state collected $12.45 million from January through April compared to $7.4 million last year, largely because its THC potency tax changes by milligram. Robbing us. The tax man always robbing us. That tax ends October 1st when the 10.75 gross receipts levy takes over. Connecticut found a way to tax the potency, not the party. South Dakota's medical marijuana homegrow program has exploded. Licensed home cultivation jumped from 61 patients in the fiscal 2022 to 715 in fiscal 2026. That's 1,072% increase. Yeah, it is. Good for you. Good for you, South Dakota. Overall medical enrollment also reached 19,375 patients by June, up 30% from the previous fiscal year. Apparently, more patients decided if you want it done right, sometimes you got to grow it yourself. South Carolina lawmakers left town without passing proposed restrictions on hemp-derived THC drinks and edibles, so those products remain available without the proposed limits until lawmakers return in January. Oh, South Carolina, you got some reprieve there. Drink those drinks. The stalled package also included tougher DUI provisions. Legislators say they will revisit both issues next year, while federal hemp rules could reshape the debate. Illinois retailers selling hemp-containing vapes are getting a compliance warning from the Department of Revenue. IDOR says those electronic cigarettes are subject to the state tobacco product tax, even when they contain hemp, kratom, or caffeine instead of nicotine. Business must check invoices, registration, and tax payments. And starting November 12th, Illinois will prohibit retailers from selling hemp vapes. The paperwork just got baked in. A new Justice Department rule could make it easier for some marijuana users to regain firearm rights by changing how certain prohibited person determinations are handled. The rule creates a process for individuals to demonstrate they are no longer unlawfully using controlled substances while specifically excluding marijuana from the definition. A federal judge has lifted the block that stopped Rhode Island from moving forward with its marijuana business's licensing process. The ruling clears the way for regulators to accept applications, hold a lottery, and issue adult use and social equity licenses. The new state applications window opened August 7th and runs through November 23rd. New Hampshire lawmakers overrode Governor Kelly Ayotte's veto of a bill allowing medical cannabis businesses to grow marijuana greenhouses. The Senate voted 16-8, while the House voted 257-44. Supporters say greenhouse cultivation can improve efficiency and lower costs for patients. The bill now becomes law despite the veto. NHTSA has launched its Labor Day Drive Sober to Get Pulled Over campaign with increased enforcement running through the holiday period. The agency says 11,904 people died in alcohol-impaired crashes in 2004, while also reminding drivers that cannabis and other drugs can cause impairment and lead to a DUI. The message is simple: celebrate hard, but drive sober. NORML's Great American Cannabis Awards are recognizing people and organizations advancing cannabis reform, advocacy, and culture. The awards highlight contributors from across the movement, celebrating those people, public policy, expanding across the challenges. Oh, I knew there was a mosquito crawling on me. Woo! Did I get it? Bam, that thing was on my arm sucking some blood. Woo. And I got poison ivy, everybody, right now, too, again, for the second time this year. And I felt that thing on my head.
I thought you were having like a moment. I saw you like looking at your arm.
I was like, what the? I felt something crawling on me. I was like, oh my God. I thought it was my poison ivy real quick. Sorry, everybody. Whew. I don't know if I got it, though. I think it flew away. But damn, now I made my fucking poison ivy itch. Damn it. Calamine lotion, everybody, does help. And chance to shine a spotlight on the folks doing the heavy lifting behind scenes. Basically, it's cannabis version of handling out some well-earned trophies. The Illinois General Assembly Joint Committee of Administration rules released today new proposals from the Illinois Department of Agriculture that would allow cultivation centers and craft growers to cultivate cannabis outdoors. The rulemaking would add a definition of licensed premises that includes contagious areas outside of an enclosed locked facility. The rulemaking could appeal rules related to craft grower canopy modifications that are conflict with Cannabis Regulations and Tax Act. And now I'm passing that joint over to you, Mrs. Weedman. Hopefully that fucking mosquito will come back on me again, though. Man, my fucking poison ivy now, boy. Oof.
All right, I've got some more.
She got me.
Who?
The mosquito. The mosquito, males do not, they suck on nectar. It's them bitches fucking that bite blood for blood.
Got a problem with that?
Yeah. Fucking blood-sucking bitches.
Political, state, and business news continues. A bipartisan group of 4 House members is asking the Trump administration for clearer guidance on the new Schedule 3 framework for medical cannabis. Their questions cover worker protections, patient rights, privacy, home cultivation, DEA registration, Medicare coverage, and how 280E applies to businesses operating in both medical and adult use markets. Apparently, Washington needs a cannabis instruction manual. A new Massachusetts poll finds 55% of registered voters plan to reject a November ballot question that would repeal the state's adult use cannabis laws, while 33% currently support the repeal. That's encouraging for the industry, although the margin isn't exactly a put your feet up and relax territory. Massachusetts voters might be telling Prohibition to take a permanent vacation. Aurora Cannabis is telling shareholders to take no action on Curaleaf's unsolicited takeover bid. Curaleaf's they've offered a combination of shares and cash, valuing Aurora at $4 a share with a $5 cap. Aurora says the offer undervalues its European medical cannabis platforms and facilities. Texas continues making THC regulations about as clear as mud. New rules restrict several hemp-derived THC products, while marijuana remains illegal for adult recreational use. The Houston Chronicle argues that instead of creating confusing patchwork, Texas should legalize and regulate marijuana similarly to alcohol. They should everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The FDA wants to hire a contractor to monitor cannabis and hemp conversations on TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. The agency wants data on products, ingredients, claims, consumer sentiment, and emerging trends, using AI to analyze online conversations. Yeah, right. That's all they want to use it for, sure. The project that's like such a privacy thing.
Mm-hmm.
The project is intended to help inform regulation, education, and compliance. Awesome. Your cannabis post might be getting their own federal audience soon. Yay. Not. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul wants Congress to change upcoming federal hemp restrictions that could affect farmers growing hemp with cannabinoids beyond Delta-9, THC. Paul says states should be allowed to regulate hemp products rather than having Washington prohibit them outright. Kentucky has a long hemp growing history, so farmers are watching closely. It looks like even the hemp fields need a lobbyist these days. Maryland is putting cannabis tax dollars back into communities disproportionately affected by past cannabis enforcement. The state's Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund directs revenue toward programs including housing, workforce development, reentry services, behavioral health, and youth programs. Counties are developing their own plans and grant programs. That's what we call making the green come back around.
Mm-hmm.
Texas hemp businesses have filed another lawsuit challenging new state restrictions on hemp-derived THC. The rules now prohibit products containing more than 0.3% of any type of THC, not just Delta-9, while dramatically increasing licensing costs. Plaintiffs argue the health department overstepped its authority. Meanwhile, retailers are watching their businesses hang in the balance. South Dakota's medical cannabis industry could get some financial relief following the federal move placing medical marijuana in Schedule 3. Officials say qualifying businesses should be able to claim tax deductions previously blocked under 280E, while banking access could also improve. But state regulators still have plenty of questions about implementation and DEA registration, so the green light is on, but no one has found directions. A new study examining more than 20 million workers found health-related workplace absences fell by about 7% following medical cannabis legalization or decriminalization. The decline was especially noticeable in physically demanding jobs, including manual labor, construction, and agriculture. Researchers did not establish that cannabis itself caused the reduction. Still, fewer sick days is certainly a workplace statistic worth watching. Back over to you, Mr. Weedman.
Thanks, Mrs. Weedman. Kentucky's medical cannabis program is open, but patient enrollment has been slower than expected. More than 2,000 people have registered since the program launched, while roughly 30,000 had received certifications by late June. Officials say access to expanding as dispensaries come online. New Mexico cannabis sales are holding steady, while border communities seeing strong growth from customers traveling from Texas. South Texas. Retailers in areas like Clovis, Roselle, and Hobbs are benefiting from that traffic, while statewide sales remain relatively stable. Texas might be tightening up the cannabis rules, but New Mexico's businesses are open. Tennessee proposed a ban on THC products could create an estimated 110 million hole. Backfire, Tennessee. $110 million in taxes. You all didn't realize how much we like to smoke weed in Tennessee. And it wasn't, there's no dispensaries there. It's just THCA hemp. $110 million are losing out. According to this analytics cited by lawmakers and industry representatives. Tough. An Oregon lawmaker says she plans to push for additional cannabis regulations in 2027, particularly measures amid to protecting children, concerns including products, packaging, and marketing that could appeal to minors. Iowa officials have proposed rules allowing qualifying medical cannabis patients from other states to register for temporary access to the Iowa program. The changes would give eligible out-of-state patients a legal pathway to purchase medical cannabis while visiting Iowa. Yeah, you got like 3 dispensaries in the whole state, though. So even as marijuana moves towards Schedule 3 federally, many people on probation or parole still facing restrictions preventing medical cannabis use. Advocates say those policies can force patients to choose between following treatment plans and complying with supervision conditions. State legislation hasn't automatically erased those restrictions. Apparently, cannabis can be legal, medically recommended, and still somehow get grounded by prohibition. Missouri received nearly 900 applications during the final round of its marijuana microbusiness licensing program. The state is awarding licenses through a process designed to expand opportunities for small operators and people from communities disproportionately affected by prohibition. THC beverages have become an important lifeline for some Chicago area breweries struggling with declining traditional beer sales, but proposed Illinois restrictions on hemp-derived THC products could threaten the revenue stream by end of the year. Brewers say cannabis drinks have helped diversify their businesses and attract customers. California lawmakers have approved legislation restrictions marijuana packaging designed in ways that could attract children. The measure targets features such as cartoon imagery, characters, and other child-oriented designs, building on the state's existing packaging rules. Supporters say cannabis products should be clearly aimed at adults. The University of Georgia study examining more than 220 million workers found health-related workplace absences declined about 7% after medical cannabis legalization or decriminalization. Researchers saw that the largest reduction among workers in physically demanding industries, including construction, agriculture, and manual labor. The study doesn't prove cannabis caused the change, but the numbers are interesting. Fewer 6 days? That's one workplace statistic worth lighting up for, Mrs. Weedman.
That's right.
Yep. And that was political, state, and business news, everybody. Now, Mrs. Weedman is going to talk to you about why the cannabis industry is having a price compression crisis.
Yes.
And what's the solution?
We have talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
We've
talked about, you and I have talked about this. This is just like right now, Illinois is in price compression mode.
But this is on a whole. This is the whole U.S. is seeing this. So the cannabis industry is facing a problem that sounds pretty simple on the surface. Prices are falling, and they're falling fast. But here's the interesting part. Consumers haven't necessarily stopped buying cannabis. In fact, in some markets, they're buying more products than ever. They're just paying a whole lot less for them. According to MJ Biz Daily, U.S. cannabis sales fell from approximately $32 billion in 2024 to $29.94 billion in 2025. That was the first year-over-year decline in U.S. cannabis sales on record. Now, if you just look at those numbers, you might assume consumers are losing interest in legal cannabis. But analysts say that's not really what's happening. The bigger problem is something called price compression. Basically, there is so much legal cannabis available in certain markets that businesses are competing by lowering prices. And when everyone starts racing toward the bottom, the consumer wins. But the businesses growing, manufacturing, and selling the product can get squeezed pretty badly. Michigan is probably one of the clearest examples. Sales there fell about 5.3% year over year, but the number of units sold only declined about 2.1%. That tells researchers something important. People weren't walking away from cannabis, they were just simply paying less for it. Michigan's average item price was around $9.06, making it one of the cheapest cannabis markets analyzed. And that might sound fantastic if you're standing on the customer side of the counter. But if you're the cultivator, processor, or dispensary owner trying to pay rent, employees, utilities, taxes, and other operating expenses, $9 cannabis can become a pretty serious problem. Compare that with Missouri, which is still a relatively young market. Missouri generated a record $1.5 billion in cannabis sales last year, while the average item price remained around $26.82. New Jersey is another example. Unit sales increased 8.8%, while the average item price remained around $30.59. So we're seeing two very different cannabis economies developing across the country. Some newer markets are still experiencing growth because they're converting consumers from the illicit market into legal sales. But many of the older Western markets have already gone through that initial explosion of growth. California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, for example, they have mature markets where the industry is now dealing with oversupply and declining prices. And that's really the heart of the problem. According to the industry economist Bo Whitney, the United States has enough legal production capacity to meet roughly 600% of current legal demand. Think about that for a second.
Crazy.
6 times the amount of production needed to supply the legal market. When you've got that much product chasing a limited number of legal customers, economics is going to do what economics does, shift. The prices are going to come down. And it's not just the businesses feeling the squeeze. MJ Biz Daily reports that the legal cannabis industry employed about 412,500 people in early 2026, down 2.7% from the previous years.
Layoffs are real right now, everybody, in the cannabis industry. Don't let anybody fool you they're not. Cannabis Growth just did a huge layoff right now. It's no joke.
Their this year was 412,500 people. Last year was 425,002 people or positions, jobs. So you have to ask, what is the solution? Industry analysts say it's probably not more discounts. Cutting prices might bring in customers, but if you're losing money on every sale, selling more doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Instead, the industry needs to get better at matching supply with actual demand, improving efficiencies, developing products that give consumers a reason to pay a premium, and perhaps most importantly, finding ways to move more consumers from the unregulated market into the legal system. People still want their weed. The challenge is figuring out how to sell it legally and profitably. That's for sure.
I have so much to say, but we don't have enough time. I could do a whole show just on this. Mrs. Weedman hears me talking about this every day. So, and I'm not going to, because you'll all snooze on me. If you ever want to talk, just reach out. I'll be happy to talk to you about it, because I could do a 2-hour show on this and what happened with the industry when it started to where we're at today, and tell you. I mean, Mrs. Weedman knows I'm in the industry. I've been doing this. I've been in sales for a very long time, and I've seen many different trends, and I've seen many different products, and I've seen many different new industries, and I've been through it all in my age, in my time in sales. And I tell you what, I've never seen a industry pivot
so fast,
so fucking
so
fast,
frequently,
yes,
and so fast,
and not getting better.
No.
So to that, Mrs. Weedman, before we go into international news, why don't you light that doink up and let's smoke that delicious peach destiny that was given to us by our friends over at Stash. International news: Nigerian police arrested a 101-year-old grandma woman in Ogun State, alleging she was involved in selling cannabis. Authorities reportedly seized cannabis from her residence. What are you doing, Mrs.
I can't see.
You fucking can't even let that fucking put it. Just light it in your fucking hand first. But light it in your hand first, and then put it into your mouth. What do you? No. Take it out of your mouth.
Oh, shush! I know. I could do that.
Everybody, Mrs. Weedman almost burnt her nose hairs.
No, I didn't. I knew what I was doing.
and her nose hairs
I had to
almost
move
got
my glasses around so I could see that.
Let's get back to international news. A Nigerian police arrested a 101-year-old woman
my thumb.
on Ogun State, alleging she was involved in selling cannabis. Authorities reportedly seized cannabis from her residence during the operation. Oh man, poor oldie grandma. The arrest has sparked plenty of attention because at 101, she's probably the oldest person we've ever heard accused of running a cannabis operation. Grandma apparently wasn't ready to retire from that hustle. Mrs. Weedman, are you really? You have the fucking struggle's real for you right now.
I burned my finger.
Give me that joint.
My glasses are crooked now.
Yeah, you burnt your nose hairs. Are you smelling burnt hair right now?
I choked on the joint.
Good goods. I was watching you trying to read, and you're like cross-eyed, trying to fucking light the joint
out of the bottom of my glass, like brand new prescription, like a month ago.
Oh my God, an Australian study examined the long-term experience of patients prescribed medical cannabis, focusing on outcomes including symptoms, quality of life, and medication use. The researchers add to growing evidence about how patients experience cannabis-based treatments beyond short clinical trials. As medical cannabis programs mature worldwide, researchers are finally getting a longer look at the real-world picture. Shout out to our homie Tez and Reefer Terps. Love you guys out there, man. Thai dentists are facing possible legal actions after reportedly renewing cannabis prescriptions without complying with the country's tightening medical cannabis rules. Thailand shifted towards stricter medical-only access after previously becoming one of Asia's most cannabis-friendly destinations. Health officials are increasingly scrutiny of prescriptions and providers. The message is pretty clear. Thailand still has cannabis, but the paperwork is now bringing that buzzkill. Nepal's Madhesh province is moving toward legalization, addressing marijuana locally produced alcohol, and Chief Minister Krishna Kumar Pandey discussing the proposed laws at Singhdupar. The effort reflects growing debate in Nepal about regulating marijuana and traditional alcohol rather than relying solely on prohibition. Kathmandu may be discovering that regulation can be more complicated than just saying light it up. What's that? I'm going to Kathmandu. Who is that?
Kathmandu.
Yeah.
It's really, really what I want to do. Who is that?
Look it up.
I'll find out for you.
It's on the tip of my tongue, and we saw him at
Chicago?
Nope. Just type in the song. A proposal to hold a cannabis referendum in Victoria, Australia has been defeated, blocking an effort to put recreational cannabis legalization directly before voters. Supporters argued residents should have to say on reform, while opponents raised concerns about legalization and public health. So Victoria remains on the prohibition side of the fence for now. Who is it?
Bob Seger.
Yep. Nigerian politician Onwell Swore is urging the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to government looking at cultivation and production aimed primarily at export. The country sees medical cannabis as a potential source of investment, jobs, and foreign revenue. Rwanda is joining the growing list of African nations exploring regulated cannabis production. The global green rush is apparently getting another African address. Germany's medical cannabis market is facing growing tensions over proposed insurance reforms and how cannabis prescriptions should be handled. Regulators and industry stakeholders are clashing over access, reimbursement, and oversight as Germany tries to tighten rules around the rapidly expanding medical market. The country legalized adult use cannabis while its medical system keeps on evolving. And that is international news, everybody. Now, Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you a little bit about culture. She's this I'm
smoking too.
Three different articles. We're just going to tidbit it real quick because the juggalos cause some problems.
Yeah, they do.
I'm good right this moment. So, and then our poor Wiz Khalifa. And, Wiz Khalifa's cool. He's all good. It's my big ex to plug. I like his music. So, tell us about Ms. Weedman. Culture time, everybody.
Yeah,
Culture.
We got a little bit of everything in this batch of high celebrity news. So, let's take a quick trip to Wiz Khalifa, discovering his inner marathon runner, and then a rapper whose week went considerably less smoothly. Yeah. First up, the Gathering of the Juggalos got a little more attention from law enforcement than the organizers probably wanted. The 26th annual Gathering of the Juggalos took place August 19th through the 22nd at a new location in Max Creek, Missouri, and local authorities came prepared. The Camden County Sheriff's Office and the Mid-Missouri Drug Task Force conducted a coordinated operation targeting drug activity surrounding the festival. And when they said they seized hundreds of pounds, they were not kidding. Authorities reported seizing, guess how many? 221 pounds of marijuana. Yep. 126.5 pounds of psilocybin mushrooms. Oops. 40 pounds of THC edibles. Bummer. Plus other substances, including ketamine, MDMA, ketamine fentanyl mixtures. And 4 people were arrested in connection with the operation. One of the more memorable names involved was Kevin Jones, who apparently went by the festival nickname Blunt Man. Deputies say they found 128 pounds of marijuana, probably wasn't for personal consumption, and 2.5 pounds of mushrooms during his traffic stop.
I hang out with Blunt Man. Blunt Man.
Yeah.
I know a Blunt Master.
You got a joint? You got a blunt? Moving on to something considerably healthier. Wiz Khalifa has apparently become a runner. Yeah, Wiz Khalifa, the guy whose Instagram bio includes Kush and athletics, and who was famously talked about smoking a whole lot of weed. He is suddenly pounding the pavement. According to Fitbook, Wiz says he recently discovered running and has become seriously enthusiastic about it. He started with a 5-mile run and has been steadily increasing his distance and improving his pace. At the beginning of his running journey, he was running about 5:59 per kilometer. By August 24th, he reported running 11.4 kilometers at a 5:14 per kilometer pace. That's roughly 7 miles at just over an 8-minute mile pace.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. And here's the part that makes the story very Wiz Khalifa-ish. He hasn't exactly given up smoking weed to become a runner. He's even joked about his routine of toking before a run, and he's challenged other cannabis-consuming runners to post their times. Before anybody decides that Wiz has officially discovered the secret cannabis endurance formula, the science doesn't back that up. So Wiz may be proving that you can be a serious runner and a serious cannabis consumer at the same time, but he isn't proving that cannabis makes you a better runner. And lastly, I guess that's all subjective. or objective. I think that would be objective.
One or the other.
I don't know. I don't know right now. That's for sure. And lastly, we've got Big Extra Plug, who had a much less inspirational week. The Dallas rapper was arrested in Collin County, Texas on August 21st and faces charges including DWI, marijuana possession of less than 2 ounces, and unlawful possession of a firearm, according to the report. The timing was particularly unfortunate because he was scheduled to perform at the Country Rising Festival the same day.
Terrible.
Organizers initially described his cancellation as a personal emergency. And this wasn't his first run-in with the law. It's actually his third arrest in less than 2 years. He was previously facing marijuana and firearm charges in 2025, while an earlier marijuana possession case was eventually dismissed. Yep. So there you have it. You've got the Juggalos apparently bringing enough
ICP.
bringing enough contraband to stock a small festival economy. Wiz Khalifa discovering that smoke one, run one is a legitimate lifestyle choice. And Big Extra Plug reminding everybody that driving under the influence and carrying a firearm is a combination that can turn a concert night into a court date real quick. That's all I got, Mr. Weedman.
Culture rocking it this week, Mr. Weedman.
Yep,
Good job. Good job.
Yep.
Mr. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
That's the end of the show.
That's it.
Got anything else to say before we go?
Everybody have a fantastic week. Stay high.
Obey those buds. Everybody out there in the world, will you just go have some fucking fun and go live some life? As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.